Sitaram, once more welcome to SWA DHARMA, carried exclusively on Sankhya TV. By this time, we are aware that the program is also being aired on the Flow Network Channel 117. SWA DHARMA, whereby we try to, using the tools of Sanatan Dharma, carry the individual to a level where he or she is of benefit to society, of benefit to the home, and by extension having an international touch of positivity. This week's program deals with the 5 Yagyas. Because of the expanse of the material, it will be divided into 2 sections, one this week, one of course the following week. Yagyas, most times when we think of Yagya, we think that it's Hawan Kund, Singhasan, etc. It is that too, but that only defines 2 of the 5 Yagyas. There are 3 other Yagyas which we will develop in our next program that doesn't entail those maneuvers. Now, the 5 Yagyas, it's what everyone should perform in their lifetime. Essentially then, a Yagya is where we give attention to creation, from divine to that which is all belongs to all the creatures of this world. So this is where the 5 Yagyas we are referring to. And the first of those is Dev Yagya. This is one we are quite familiar with, whereby we extend invitations and we have, whether it's a 7 nights reading of Ramayana, Bhagavad Puran, whatever text. And of course there is a narrator of Katha, and there is puja being done, and the invitation goes out to the entire community, and that is basically Dev Yagya, but it's much more than that. If we were to maximize the efforts of such an undertaking, there are little points that we need to pay attention to get the full effect of Dev Yagya. First of all, it's Dev Yagya, where adulation is bestowed to the Devatas, through whose grace we are here on earth enjoying the gift of life. And the offerings that we made, the principal offering in a Yagya, a Dev Yagya, is Havan. The narration of Katha complements the undertaking, but Havan is the mainstay of such an undertaking. Now, if we are speaking about Havan, obviously we are talking about the god of fire, Agni Devata. So if we are going to perform Havan to Agni Devata or via Agni Devata and make oblations to all the gods, we need the presence of Agni Devata. And we know that God is omnipresent. So what's the difference here? Well, Agni Devata visits, in Sanatan Dharma, it's 3 worlds. It's earth, it's the heavenly regions, and it's Patal. 7 spheres on top, 7 below, earth being the 7th. And Agni Devata visits the celestial regions. He's on earth. He visits Patal, the netherworld, in cycle. So there is a calculation which tells us, by using certain astrological facts, when Agni Devata is on earth. Because if we want to honor and guest, that guest obviously has to be present. It seems, automatic pilot, but it doesn't pan out that way, because sometimes Yagyas are done when Agni Devata is not on Mrityu Lok, on earth. So that calculation has to be sorted out by the Pandit. And so we make preparation for the beginning of Yagya. A Yagya, according to the Shastras, cannot start on a Tuesday or a Saturday. We might say that, okay, Tuesday could be one of the deities' Jayanti, the manifestation or the anniversary of the manifestation of that deity on earth. It could be, let's say, Hanuman Jayanti. And we say, well, that lends a bit of support to the fact that we should perform or start the Yagya on a Tuesday. No. Across the board, Tuesday and Saturday, Yagyas are not started. Yes, in the very example we referred to, if Hanuman Jayanti is on a Tuesday, start the Yagya the Monday, the Sunday, the Friday before, provided the Agni Bas or the position of Agni is in order. So having established that, we now make preparations for Yagya. Of course, we see the Havan Kund and the Vedika. The principal deities that are worshipped in a Yagya are, of course, Lord Ganesh, Shiv Baba, Durga Mata, Vishnu Bhagwan, and Surjanarayan Swami. But of course, Agni Devata has to be worshipped too, and we always say the scholastic corners have said and declared that provision should be also made for the worship of Brahma and Saraswati Mata in a Devi Yagya. So these are the deities that we are going to worship, and it is said so that when the Yagya itself has to be started, it should be before the end of the day. So obviously the mainstay of the Yagya, as far as we are concerned, is the narration of Katha. Very important. But the Yagya itself does not start, it has to start in ample time to allow puja to be, detailed puja to be performed. And if we have to take into consideration this calculation, then we are talking roughly that puja should begin around 4:45 across the board. The time could be fine-tuned by a pundit depending on the calculation, but roughly 4:45, 4:45 p.m. is a good time to begin puja in preparation for narration of Katha. And so much punyam, so much blessings is lost when we don't follow these simple calculations. In getting to the performance of puja, it is said that one should not wear blue. We have hopefully developed that point at some point in time. So the performers of puja ought not to wear blue. Just as a quick reminder, it inflates the ego. The details have been given before. Now, if we were the very Singhasan, the Vyas Gaddi on which the narrator of Katha is going to sit, we ought to pay a little attention to the minor architecture of that. Sometimes the Pandit might be facing the west, be facing the east. And that will mean that the entrance to his Vyas Gaddi, his Singhasan, could either be south or north, the steps going up to that. Put it on the north. We all know about the south part of it. These simple maneuvers goes hand in hand with our preparation. The Vyas, he should be a Vipra, because a Vipra, one of the keynote functions in a Yagya, Vedic mantras have to be uttered. They have to be uttered. A Vipra is supposed to be equipped to do that. So we are accustomed to Puranic mantras. We want to call Lord Ganesh to the altar, Om Agacha Bhagwan Deva Sthane Chatristrova. But that is Puranic. If we get the input of the Vipra, Om Sahasra Shirisha Purusha Sastaksha Sastrapat, that's Vedic. So one or two, out of joy, inquire of their Vyas, their Pandit, or their Purohit is performing puja. Baba, tell me when you are going to utter the Vedic mantras. The entire undertaking may not necessarily has to be done in Vedic styling. It'll be good, all the mantras, but a few. And so, we lend a special air to those mantras because a lot of punyam, a lot of blessings come not only by the utterance of the Vedic mantra, but also by those who listen to those mantras, so that we will get the full fruits of this noble undertaking. Again, we tweak the maneuvers. We are accustomed that when narration of Katha is going on and has almost neared completion, there might be a lull, a break, a provision that final Havan be done. But the more acceptable procedure is that the only step in puja that should be left after Katha narration is Nirajan. So the gods having been fed before, then Katha comes, and so when the Vyas finishes Katha and finishes his arati, then we are instructed to perform Nirajan. So that should be the final step of the puja as far as the Vedika the altar is concerned. And Nirajan is a lit camphor, is waved, and there is circumambulation. Circumambulation is honoring of the deities. That with this temporary light, that is why Nirajan is done with camphor. The light wouldn't last for long. But this temporary light, Bhagwan, we take leave of you, that till when we return tomorrow to perform puja. So Nirajan, if it's the final day of the Yagya, same method. So we take you of Bhagwan, we thank you for your presence over the few days, but we take a few leave of you temporarily, because tomorrow I will join you in my private prayer, which is a Yagya too at home. So Nirajan is done in that manner. Those who may not have what it takes to host a Yagya, financially, the help, etc., we can be participants of a Yagya. To every chair that is cleaned, to every helping hand that is given in serving prasad or helping preparation of food, all those are avenues where it could be a community effort to get blessings, accrue blessings in the performance of a Dev Yagya. So it is not only the host and the Vyas, it is also everyone who gives a helping hand to allow that undertaking to bear its full fruit. So participating, more so hosting, more so even equally being involved in key aspects of a Yagya like this, a Dev Yagya, it's one of the goals, ought to be one of the goals of the human being before we exit this world. So the second Yagya, it's the Rishi Yagya. And in this case, we refer specifically, the Shastras refer specifically to the Saptarishi, the 7 wise sages of this era. And they are, as we know from our daily prayer, Kashyap, Atri, Vasisht, Vishwamitra, Bharadwaj, Jamdagni, and Gautam. On the very Dev Yagya, which we mentioned earlier, the Rishi Yagya could be performed simultaneously. All it entails is putting 7 palm leaves on the Vedika and making the 16 offerings along with the devatas. So in a Dev Yagya, we can also embrace a Rishi Yagya in that one fell swoop. What might be more of interest to us is what relevance these rishis have, what input they have in our lives. So briefly we touch on them. Kashyap. Kashyap is the son of Brahma, the creator. Among his duties that was requested of him by his father asked him to be a major instrument in all God's creation, the feathered kingdom, all the God's creation. And so Kashyap had that input in creation. And more than that, Ramayana tells us that Gunjata Madhukara Nikara Anupa Sundara Khaga Ravanana Rupa. Shri Ramchandraji pointed out to us through the medium of Lakshman, and we are talking Kiskindha Kand here in Ramayana, that look, O Lakshman, how the bees, different species of bees, different species of birds live in unison. Why doesn't man emulate the example left by the birds and the bees and so forth, where they live in unity regardless of differences, physical and otherwise? Why can't man live in unity? And one of the pivotal inputs of Kashyap Muni is that for man to live in unity, his or her thought process has to be attuned to that concept, that novel concept. And that novel concept can is, as the Upanishads, the 108 Upanishads declare, that novel concept depends on what we eat, because what we eat is what we become. We say we are Hindus. The word Hindu, as the Western world might want to have us believe that, is some civilization born around the Indus River and so on. No. Hindu means himsa dur hona. Himsa is violence. Dur hona, to stay far from. He who stays far from violence is a Hindu. And they say, well, I don't commit, I'm not a part of warfare and so forth, so I am in the clear. But the chicken and the kid and the calf, they too have families. They too have father and mother. If you watch in our farm, there is a filial attachment among the animals, among each family of animals. So if we partake of violence committed to these animals and we partake of that, we can't classify ourselves as true Hindus because we are in violent acts. And as we are making the point, what we eat is what we become, and then we cannot grasp that novel concept of living in unity with man. All Kashyap's input and more than that. Next we come to Atri Muni. Atri Muni, the Devatas and the Rishis, they sit on the body. Atri Muni also sits on the tongue and has an input in speech as Saraswati Mata. Guided by Saraswati Mata, Atri Muni gives this tongue the ability to speak on Dharma. And anytime a conversation is riveted in Dharma, it is definitely a positive conversation. It will impact positively upon people, and that comes through the Muni Atri's grace. Well, we all know the Sanatan Dharma has 4 pillars, but let's turn our attention to one of those pillars, Dan, which is the act of charity. Too many times we think of Dan as, we give something materially. That is also a classification of Dan. Higher than that is Annadan, where we give food to someone who is in need, who is a destitute person, we feed them. That is a higher Dan. And the highest Dan is Vidya Dan, when we can give some sort of inspiration to let someone grab on to and so come out of whatever turmoil and turbulence they might be facing at that point in time. We inspire them, and it comes from the tongue, and by Atri Muni's grace, these things can pan out in life. Next we come to Vasishta Muni. We all know he was the guru of Shri Ram Chandra, noted for knowledge. When Shri Ram Chandra went to Guru Griha Gaye Parhan Ragurai Alpakal Vidyasabha Ai, when Shri Ram Chandra went to Guru Vasishta, he mastered the 64 branches of knowledge. And now, we complain the child goes into Form 1 from, September, and he says, my, too much books. He's doing 13 subjects, Baba. Shri Ram Chandra did 64 subjects, 64 branches of knowledge. And that is not airy-fairy language, we can, apart from that, you talk about philosophy, and we briefly touch on it. Sanatana Dharma believes in philosophy. There could be 3 schools of philosophy in one view, where we regard civilization as, or God as Dvait, Advait, and Vishishta Advait. All these concepts are part of the 64 branches of knowledge. Next we come to Muni Vishwamitra. Among the strengths of Muni Vishwamitra was, as we know from the history of Ramayana, he was able to pass on to Sri Ramchandra and Lakshman, and should we say the Lord allowed him to pass on protection mantras. And Ramayana is riddled with all sorts of solutions to hurdles and problems and confrontations that sometimes tend to get the better of us. I quote one, Mam Bhirakshaya Raghukul Dhritavata Chap Ruchirikarasayak. That's a supreme protection mantra, which basically says, my Lord, protect me. I want you, O Ram, to protect me with bow and arrow in hand. If that mantra is started on an appropriate date and time, and this mantra was done in a workshop by SVV, but one starts on a special day and time, that definitely serves as a protection mantra. Now, one has got to be prudent. One can't be by himself on a lonely road in a crime-riddled area and says, I am Mam Bhirakshay, Raghukulnayak, etc., etc., and all will be well. We have to exercise a bit of prudence, but rest assured, it is a sound protection mantra. Vishwamitra was noted for that. Bharadwaj we come to with a little more detail. Jamdagni. Jamdagni was a true Vipra, A true Brahman. A true Brahman is not reactive, is proactive. If there is a element of statecraft that is unpleasant, that is not according to the laws of nature, a Vipra, like the ilk of Jamdagni, speaks out on it. He does not wait for something to happen and be reactive and then speaks. He speaks out, and Jamdagni establishes that type of nobility, noble characters in a Brahmin, in an individual. So much so that his son Parshuram was not happy with his stewardship of 21 renowned kings and brought their downfall for the sake of righteousness and justice. Justice, as we often heard, must also perceive to be done and not done alone. And Jamdagni was, the embodiment of that righteousness. We come to Gautam. Gautam Muni exemplifies who is Bhagwan Shiva, or gives an idea of the magnanimity of Bhagwan Shiva. We say that because if one follows Gautam Katha, when Gautam was given kalank, false blame, and he moved out, he was forced to move out of his ashram, that benevolent Bhagwan Shiva created for him, put all that was necessary for an ashram, including fresh water by the form of a river, to Gautam. So when one goes to Gautam Katha, one understands Bhagwan Shiva. And by understanding Bhagwan Shiva, or attempting to understand Bhagwan Shiva, Lashana Dhama Rama Priya Sakala Jagat Adhar, when Guru Vasishtha was naming, in the naming ceremony of the 4 sons, when he reached Lakshman, he says, Lakshman, Rama Priya. If we want to know Godhead, we have to get close to he who is close to Ram, that is Shankar Bhagwan. And Guru Vasishtha says that Lakshman is a projection of Shankar Bhagwan. So the ticket to the Supreme is Bhagwan Shiva, and a good, valuable ticket to Bhagwan Shiva is the Katha, or the various Kathas of Gautam Muni. So we come to Bharadwaj Muni. Bharadwaj Muni, it is said his blessings gives us, his blessing gives us sustenance. Now it's not an overlapping role with Vishnu Bhagwan, the sustainer. But Bharadwaj Muni had the blessings of the sustainer Vishnu Bhagwan. He is of the lineage of Brihaspati. That these great, he is the descendant of these great beings who developed the art of sustenance. So when we call his name reverently in prayer, when in a yagya we convene time to puja him and the other 6 rishis, then we will never be out of sustenance in life. So much so, and we quote from Ramayana, when Bharat was in search of Sri Ramchandra to woo him back to Ayodhya, Sunahu Bharat hama jhutan kahi udasin tapas ban rahi. Bharadwaj, he met Bharadwaj, and Bharadwaj says, I am a tapas, I am an ascetic. I am living without material comforts, and here I have before me a royal entourage, because with Bharat were the noble, all the noble people, or most of the noble people from Ayodhya. They came in the retinue to seek Shri Ramchandraji, to woo him back to Ayodhya. So this sage is saying, well, how am I going to host you? But Suni Riddhi Siddhi Animadik Ai Suhui Sukarhi Gosai. Only knowing of the wishes of Bharadwaj Muni to entertain the guests and entertain them according to protocol, then we see here the Anima Adi, you get the word animatic, the attendants of Kuvedita, the god of wealth, supervised by Lakshmi Mata. They all came down to Bharadwaj's assistance, and lo and behold, they created comfortable homes for each of the visitors. There was an abundance of tasty food, healthy food, all provided for, not by Bharadwaj, but because what he stands for, all those deities and celestials who provide, they came at his wish. And so it is said that Bharadwaj Muni, along with all the rishis, they confer, and we have just given an inkling of the blessings that they confer. So once again, we continue in our next program, the other three Yagyas, thanking you on behalf of Sankhya TV for joining us. Sitaram.